Hey guys, so it's been a little while since I posted any videos in regards to my marriage, restoration. I've gotten messages throughout the months kind of asking for updates, where are things at, any progress, things like that. So I figured during this whole COVID-19, I hope you guys are doing well. I already know that your worlds, if you're watching this video, you're probably going through something with your marriage. And even if you're not, all of our worlds are being shaken in different ways. So I thought right now would be a really good time to kind of hop on and just encourage you guys while we're all like being quarantined and social distancing and things like that. Let me think. I think the last time I posted a video was in July, maybe June, and it is now March of 2020. The end of. And so a few things have happened. So the last time I posted my video, I was still standing for marriage, this and that. And one of the ways that I have fleeced God, and every spouse needs to do it differently and really just listen to God. I've gotten questions what people should do, and I'm not in your marriage. I'm not, I wasn't called to marry the person that you married. And so I would really say, be very careful about like seeing what other people did and then doing that. Like really you gotta listen to God on timing and methods and everything. So one of the things that I had done with God was I had told the Lord that I wasn't going to try and continue being in love with my husband. At the same time, as long as love remained in my heart, I would know that that was like God's sign for me to continue to remain steadfast in my stand. And so one day in July last summer, I just woke up and I had this like little quote thing in my room, and it had like a little something that kind of stood for my husband on it. And so whenever I'd wake up, it was one of the first things that I would see, and it would just kind of remind me to pray for him and lift him up and stuff. And so I woke up that morning and I looked at it and I felt nothing. Like my heart was just nothing. And so for the next, and I heard the Lord tell me it was time to go to post-divorce counseling, which I had never done in the last few years, even though a couple of people had mentioned it to me. I hadn't done it because I just felt like that's counterintuitive if I'm believing for restoration. So anyways, long story short, for a couple weeks, I'm wrestling with God. I'm so frustrated. I'm like, I don't understand what all this was about. If you were just going to wake me up one day and not have me have feelings for him anymore, like, what was the point of all of this? Blah, 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 whatever. For a couple weeks, I'm like throwing a fit. And then I go on vacation for a friend's wedding, and I end up finding out on that trip that my ex-husband is expecting a baby with somebody, not the woman that he left me for, but somebody else. And that was one of the things that I had been really afraid to ever hear for years, because we had lost a child together. And so I just felt like that'll be like one thing that I just won't be able to handle, and I just won't take that blow very well. But what's so crazy is that because a couple weeks earlier, God had already like removed that connection from me to my ex. When I heard this news, it didn't hurt me, but also it showed me, wow, God, like you allowed this not to happen for years so that I could be in the place that I'm at now, where I could get this news and not be so, devastated. But also you prepared my heart weeks ago, because you knew the reason I'm cutting this is because I don't want this to affect you. And so all of that to say, in August, I started post-divorce counseling, and I just kind of started to move into a season of, being divorced and like accepting that, okay, he's now creating a family with somebody else, and that looks different. And okay, so let me just clarify. Him having a child with somebody else was never going to be a deal breaker for me. Like if that had happened and God was still saying to stand, I was more than mentally ready to help him raise a child with somebody else or whatever, like, because that's really what I felt God had called me into. But because God had already released me when I heard the news or whatever, you guys get what I'm saying. So anyways, so for the last 6 months, I guess 7 months, I've just got into this really good space with God. I'm completely at peace that I think if I could sum up what I want this video to be about, it would be, and I've said this in other videos, I think, I heard one of my friends told me that she sent my link to somebody and that they stopped watching it like my second or third video in because it had been a couple months and they didn't see that restoration was happening and that was discouraging to them and blah, blah, blah. And I get that. If that's what your end goal is, if the only reason you think you're standing is for your marriage to be restored and for your spouse to come back to you, then yeah, this may not be the calling for you. But as the months have passed, I have seen, one, my prayers were not in vain. I know that the prayers that I sowed in the season that I was called to stand, and yes, I've been confused. When I make these videos, I sound all like resolved, but like, trust me, I've cried, I've been confused. I've been like, what was all of that about? But I know that I grew. I know that the journey that God and I went on was maybe even more for me than it was. And God used the marriage and a prodigal to get God and I back on a better track, to heal me from a lot of things, to really make me new. And so, I get if you're going to cut your journey short because, you're hurt and you don't see your spouse changing and you don't see your marriage turning around, or you think that God's lied or tricked you and that he's not, whatever. But I would just encourage you really leaning into God and going, maybe this is so much bigger than what I thought it was about. Right now I am getting to watch a marriage that probably would have ended in divorce if my friend hadn't watched the way that I fought for mine. And I get to watch them both fight for it together, and it's so beautiful. And I guess my point is, what if that's what it was about? Like, what if my journey wasn't for my end goal, for my happily ever after, but what if it was so that someone else could stand in their gap and fight for their spouse, And so I just think sometimes we get so like tunnel vision and a little bit self-centered and self-absorbed. And if there's nothing in it for me, then I'm out. And I would just encourage you to just, stay steadfast with God and seeking him. And so where I'm at now, I am single. I'm happily single. I still pray for my ex-husband's salvation and for his child and his little family that he's created, his other half. And I pray that they find God and that, because that's the only way that they're going to experience joy and peace. And so I just feel in a really good space. As you know, I don't know if you guys follow me on social media or not, but I did get into a relationship. We never classified it because I was trying to stand, but then also I was leaning on this other person. And so I definitely fell in love with him, and it wasn't the right relationship. It wasn't the right fit. And so I've just given myself that time to, why do I have to jump into a new relationship? Why can't I just be me and Jesus and, be on my journey? And I do intend in the summertime to kind of open myself up to the, prospect of somebody new and putting myself out there, but this time with healthy boundaries, knowing what I'm looking for, and not just falling for somebody because I'm hurting or I'm needing, I'm vulnerable and I'm needing support or whatever. And so that's something else I would just encourage you. The enemy knows that right now you're weak and you're hurting, you're dejected, you're rejected, you're depressed, you're sad, especially if you have kids, you want that extra support there. And so be very careful, because he can send somebody that looks like a hero or a savior in the moment, a man or a female, and actually, because it was sent by enemy, it'll destroy your life even more. And so I'm walking in a lot of peace. I'm happy, I'm joyful, I'm in a whole new season. It's been 2 years since our divorce finalized, but 3 years since I've been on this journey, and I just feel like the sun is coming out and the valley is over, and I've just been walking in months and months of just this journey. And I knew I was gonna make a video, and this will probably be my last marriage restoration video, just because for me, this season is done. However, I will always pray for marriages, so please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I will always be pro-marriage and not for divorce for a lot of different reasons. And just because my journey didn't end the atypical, you can go through YouTube and you can find lots of couples that are sitting together and are now restored. But I want my story to be out there that, yeah, it didn't end with the, oh, my spouse is here and like everything is beautiful now. But my life is beautiful and God is so faithful. And I believe that I'll just continue to watch my life unfold in beautiful ways. And so will you. I'm sure I'll start a new genre of YouTubes about something. But just be encouraged, keep the faith, listen to God, don't cut your journey short, and understand that this may be so much bigger than just a saved marriage and a prodigal spouse home. This may be your miracle. This may be like what God wanted to do in you. And so God bless you all. Be safe in this COVID thing. It's crazy, but I'm praying for you guys. And I love y'all. YouTube, comment. I love praying for you guys. So whatever your situations are, let me know. And you guys take care out there. Bye.